Hey y'all, it's been a while since we've done a video. We appreciate your patience. Fishing's just been too good as of late to tie flies, but now that the wind's blowing and the snow's flying, we decided to stay in and tie a few flies. So the pattern that I'm going to tie today is a blue-winged olive emerger, and it's done quite well for me this fall and this past spring during the blue-winged olive hatches, but also tied in other colors, drake and PMD. It's been quite effective. So what I'll do is I'll just start my thread right here behind the eye, and I'm using Danville's 6/0 unwaxed, and I'll just go back and stop my thread right there where the barb would be. And here's where I'll tie in my shuck. Alright, and for the shuck I'm going to be using some amber Zelon. Alright, and when I take the strand of Zelon off of, when I take the bunch of Zelon off of the pile, I'll split the strand into about a third, and then if you can see it here, I've tied a knot in the end. Alright, and that's there's a purpose behind that. It helps me to not only control the antron, or the Zelon, when I'm tying a bunch of flies in a row, but it also helps me to manage the Zelon as well. Alright, so I'll go ahead and tie that in with one loose wrap right there. Okay, and I want the shuck to be about as long as the hook shank. Alright, so I'll just adjust it right there. Okay, and then what I'll do is then spin my thread clockwise, and then I can secure the Zelon there with two wraps. Okay, then I can just estimate how long I want the body to go to and trim off my Zelon. That way when I'm wrapping back up the body, there's not a big lump back here at the end. Alright, so I can go all the way back down. Alright, and the next step here is to tie in my turkey biot, and this one is specifically is in a blue-winged olive color pattern. Alright, so I'll just tie in that biot right there and continue forward. Alright, so the body's nice and even and uniform, and then I will begin wrapping my turkey biot here. We want that rough edge to come out and provide some segmentation, so continue wrapping that forward right there, and we're done for the body. Okay, tie that off with a few good securing wraps, and then trim off your biot. Okay, and then clean up right there. Alright, next we'll tie in the tri-fly hackle. It's a medium done rooster, and I've already prepared the feather, so we'll just go ahead and tie that in. This will imitate the legs of the emerger as it's struggling to get to the surface. And after I've tied that in with a few good securing wraps, I'll go ahead and wrap it forward. Twice. Okay. Once that's in, I'll go ahead and secure that a little bit more there, just to make sure we're good there. Alright, and then I will, off the top, trim off some of this hackle. Alright, and the next step, will be to tie in the wing, and for the wing I've chosen to use snowshoe rabbit's fur. And the reason why I like this fur for this particular fly is because the fur has qualities that provide a lot of waterproofing. Just cut off a small little piece of fur here, and then I trim off the ends just to give it a little more uniform look, and then I'll place it here on top of where I have my thread right now, so that these tips here reach back to the end of the body that we started there, back there with the biop. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to look good enough to eat. And usually this fly doesn't disappoint. So what I'll do then is just tie that in right there with a few good securing wraps. Make sure that my wing is angled back. And then I can trim the rest of this hair up front here. And then the last step will be to dub. And what I'll do is just grab some brown olive superfine. After I've cleaned up a little bit here in the front, grab a little bit of brown olive superfine, throw that on my thread here, dub clockwise. And then I'm actually just going to wrap back. Okay, back to about right there. Alright, and then you can see I've got a little bit of dubbing left over right here. What I'll do then is begin whip finishing, just to hide my thread wraps back here. 2, 3, 4. That way that hides my thread wraps back here, so they're not so visible. The fish don't really care, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I don't really like to see those thread wraps there. Just a good little trick to hide some thread wraps when you're finishing off the heads of your flies. And then next step here is just to simply cut the thread, and you're good to go. That's the breadline Baetis emerger.